Hello, and welcome to 5 Minutes with Nate. This month's topic, data. So today I wanted to talk about how to really look at, read, understand, translate, interpret test scores. Test scores really have kind of three categories: standard scores, proficiency levels, or random. Before I discuss those three categories, though, all tests have raw scores. So what does a raw score mean? That's how many they answered correctly. So on some tests, that's really not a helpful number. It doesn't really tell us what to do. It doesn't tell us a lot. Now, some tests it does. For example, if you give out a math test in class, or a diagnostic exam, or, it'll help us know how many can they actually do. A language sample, the number of sentences or words or expressions, that is a good number. Helps us really understand what's going on. But some state tests or the Woodcock-Johnson, no, it doesn't really help us understand anything. All right, first, standard scores. Really, it's based on what? Mathematical law. The concept is if you have more than 50 numbers, they will tend to follow that bell curve shape naturally. And the more numbers you have, the more people involved, the more precisely and closely it's going to follow that shape. So at first it might be pretty jagged and all over the place, but if I have 1,000 or 10,000 numbers, it really starts to match that curve. So what's a standard score? So we look at that bell curve, and that's the number of people that have that score. So that high point, that is the most normal, most common, most average score out there. We call it 100. Then we do a math calculation of how spread out the numbers are, the scores are, and that's called standard deviation. Most of the time we use 15 as our standard deviation, which means we start at 100 and then we subtract 15, we add 15, and that gives us a range of 85 to 115. That range is normal. A kid in there is fine. They are on level. Now, if I go the standard deviation again and I start to get lower, those students need support. And if I go even farther, below 70, that student really needs a lot of intervention, support, possibly alternative instruction. Now, on the other side of things, if a student's doing great or if they're over 130, potentially it might be a gifted and talented situation for that student. Now, does that mean that it's a guarantee with these scores? No, but it helps us kind of understand the range of what's going on. Other scores that exist are designed on that curve too. There's Z-scores and T-scores and Stanines and so many other different things. But most of the time, we're going to use the standard score. One you'll see often, though, is percentile. So that's really kind of a concept like if you get 100 people and you line them up in a row, their scores will follow that standard curve. So the middle person is number 50. They're the most normal, average, middle of the road person. Means they did better than 50 people and worse than 50 people, right in the middle. And that's exactly where we want students to be, on level, right in the middle. So if they start to get low, that's where we have concerns. If they are above that, we're excited for that progress. So here's a picture. Okay, so that was standard score. Now proficiency levels. It's typically a number score like 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that 3 and 4 are where we want them to be. They're on level. If it's a 1 to 5 scale, typically 4 and 5 are on level. And if it's a 1 through 6, then 3 through 6 are considered on level. That's a good score. It's simple, but at the same time, it doesn't really tell us a lot of what's going on. All the scores are condensed into one simple number. All right, last category is the random. For example, the NWEA MAP test. It has an RIT score, which means like students can't get a 0 on it. They can get like a 50 maybe to a 250. With those weird scores, the best thing to do is go to the website and see if they have a PDF chart that really kind of helps explain what's going on with that score. But be careful. Sometimes the charts or whatever is a little confusing, and then teachers try and explain to parents, and it's a little bit off. So if you're not sure, read the manual. Maybe discuss with your principal what it means. Two people who are experts at knowing what the test scores mean, the principal and the school psychologist. So if you really want to discuss, like, what does this number mean, help me understand, those are two great resources. Okay, that's 5 Minutes with Nate. Have a great day, and Happy New Year.